Hi, I'm Tarrant.
And I'm Stella, and this is Meeple University How to Play Duelosaur Island.
Duelosaur Island is a two-player game in which players compete to build the best dinosaur-themed amusement park.
And please stay tuned until the end of the video. We have a special guest, Ian Moss, the designer himself, sharing some secret tips and strategy on how to win the game.
Duelosaur Island is a two-player spin-off of the successful Dinosaur Island game. It also has a solo mode, which we won't go through in this video. In the game, two players compete against each other to create the best dinosaur-themed amusement park by collecting DNA to clone dinosaurs and by collecting money to make other attractions, as well as to keep the level of security high in order to keep the dinosaurs in their cages. As players get dinosaurs, they will generate excitement, which will generate visitors. The game end will be triggered when a player reaches 25, 35 or 45 visitors, depending on how long a game you want to play, and after adding endgame scores, the player with the most overall visitors wins. In this video, we're teaching from the Kickstarter Extreme Edition, which includes a few extra and upgraded components. To set up the game, each player takes a player board and 10 cubes in his or her colour. The cubes are placed on the 0 steps of the DNA track, the 1 steps of the security and threat tracks, and then 1 cube at 1 excitement and 1 at 5 visitors. Each player takes the 3 starter cards which match his or her company, then chooses 1 to serve as a starting dinosaur and 1 to serve as a starting attraction, placing the dinosaur above the player board and the attraction below. The other card remains in the player's hand. Note that all of the starting dinosaurs are the same, while the starting attractions are 1 each of the 3 different types of card: merchandise, food, and rides. Place all of the DNA dice into the bag, and then choose the first player who takes that bag. Take the PR marker and place it on the 3rd step of the PR track. Shuffle up the rest of the park cards and then deal 3 of them face up into the card drawer. Shuffle up all of the plot twist tiles, choose 4 at random and place them on these spaces here. Then remove the rest from the game. And shuffle up the specialists pack, but do not draw any yet. You're now ready to play. Duelosaur Island is, at its core, a drafting and engine building game. Each round of the game is played in 4 phases. Firstly, players gain income in money and cards based on what they've built in their parks so far. Then there is a draft. Whoever is the round's first player gets to make a few choices about which dice and specialist cards are available for draft. Then the players draft them, starting with the second player, meaning that the first player has incentive not to make particularly strong options available. Then, in the 3rd phase, players use what they've gained in DNA and money through the draft to build up their parks, and then players gain more visitors based on how many dinosaurs are in their parks. This process repeats until the end of the game is triggered, and this will be, depending on whether you've chosen to play a short, medium or long game, once one player has reached 25, 35 or 45 visitors. The game ends at the end of that round, and then you total up final scoring to see who wins the game. The first phase of each round is income. Starting with the first player, players take their income in money and in park cards. The amount of money that a player takes is equal to $3 plus $2 for each of the yellow triangle spaces that a player has reached on the excitement track, plus $1 for every food icon that a player has built in his or her attractions. And note that there are some attractions which have 2 food icons. So this one would be worth $2, this one is worth 1. So in this scenario, the player would take 4 coins. Then players take park cards, and the number of park cards that a player takes is equal to 1, plus 1 for every merch icon on attractions in the player's park. So in this case, the player would take 2 park cards. When a player takes a park card, he or she may take any one of the available face-up cards and immediately replace it from the deck, or the player may draw blind off the top of the deck. Once all players have taken their money and cards for income, proceed to the draft phase. To start the draft phase, the player who is first player for the round first draws 5 dice out of the bag and then rolls them, and then draws 3 cards from the specialists pile and looks at them, reading the text. Then that player has the prerogative to place these 5 dice into these 5 spaces, and this will automatically link one of these dice with each of these plot twists. There are 4 plot twists and 1 empty space at the end. Then the player looks through these 3 cards, chooses 2 to keep in play, and discards the 3rd. From this, there will be 7 different things which can be drafted through the rest of this phase. These 2 cards and these 5 die plot twist pairs. Then, the second player, that is the one who did not set up the draft, gets to choose which of the 7 things he or she wants. If the player chooses a die, the player moves the die from the top to the bottom to indicate it's no longer available. Then, takes any DNA or other bonuses printed on both the die and the plot twist marker. Dice will, in almost all circumstances, grant a player DNA. This one, for example, gives the player 2 of the advanced DNA, the red, yellow, and green ones. The player would immediately choose any 2 DNA in the advanced column to take. Players may also get an icon which allows them to take basic DNA, or which gives them a specific colour of DNA. Then the player also takes the bonus printed on the plot twists tile. In this case, it's an additional basic DNA, or to draw a card, again either from the card row or from the park deck. Among the different types of plot twists that you may encounter are plot twists that give you money or visitors, and there are several which have a multiplier on them, and the multiplier allows you to take the bonus printed on the die extra times. This particular one, if applied here, would let you take 2 advanced DNA twice for a total of 4 advanced DNA plus draw a card. If instead of taking the die, the player chooses to take a specialist card, the player takes the card and can put it into one of these 3 slots, and this will give the player an ongoing benefit in one of the phases of the game from this point forward. Each player has only 3 slots available for specialists, and if a player is full and wants to draw a new specialist from the board, he or she must discard one of the ones that he or she already has to make room. Alternatively, when drafting a specialist card, the player may simply discard it immediately to get the bonus printed in this part of the card. This bonus does not apply if the player discards it from his or her specialist's area. After the second player has made his or her choice of a card or a die, play passes to the first player, who makes a choice from the 6 things that are left on the board. Play continues in this manner back and forth until a total of 6 items, 3 each, have been chosen from the board. There will be 1 item left, either a die or a card, and whichever item this is, it's placed in the threat area of the board, and this will come into play in phase 4 of the round. After the draft phase, play proceeds to the build phase, and players may perform their build phases simultaneously, as they do not interact with each other during this phase. There are 5 different types of actions that a player can take during the build phase, and the player may take as many of these actions as many times as he or she wishes. These actions are to create more dinosaurs, to build more attractions, to improve security, to mix DNA, and to sell DNA. To create a dinosaur, the player takes a card from his or her hand and plays it into the top of the player board, then spends the DNA shown at the top of the card. In this case, a blue, a violet, 2 purple, and a yellow. The player then gains excitement equal to the number in the green and black triangle, and increases his or her threat level by the number of red dots shown here. Note that excitement and threat will always be the same. There's also a number of visitors shown in a purple star. This is not applied at the moment. This is added to your score at the end of the game, so do not act on that number. Dinosaurs can be herbivores, small carnivores, or large carnivores. The way in which you play them does not differ, but some of your specialist cards may combo with different types of dinosaurs in specific ways. Note that if your threat level ever were to exceed 10, simply use this +10 marker and keep counting from the top of the track. To build an attraction, take a card from your hand and then slip it into the bottom of your player board. Then, pay the cost in coins shown in the top left-hand corner of that half of the card. If you build merch or food, then take no further action right now, as these will activate during income phases of subsequent rounds. If you build a ride, then you get an immediate benefit but no ongoing benefit. Find the location of the PR marker along the PR track, look underneath it, and then take the DNA or other bonus which is shown there. If you've built a ride with 2 ride icons, take that bonus twice. In addition to the 3 types of attraction icons, there are 3 different costs of attraction cards. A 3-cost card will give you 1 icon, a 5-cost card will give you 1 icon and 1 bonus visitor at the end of the game. Again, you do not apply this now. And a 7-cost card will give you 2 icons. Note that in addition to the immediate and ongoing benefits that you get for these cards, you will get bonus visitors at the end of game for having sets of icons that are not matching. And we'll go through this again in the final scoring phase. The third type of action you can take in the build phase is to improve your security. And you will need your security to keep pace with your threat level if you want to avoid chaos in your park. To improve your security, move the cube up 1 space and then pay the cost printed next to where your cube ends up. So, moving to level 2 will cost you 1 coin. Moving to level 3 would cost you 2 coins. As for the threat level, once you've reached a security level of 10, you can keep going up using this marker and counting from the top. But in this case, remember that the cost of improving security beyond 10 is always 4 coins. You do not go back to these 1, 2, or 3 coin levels. The 4th type of action you can take is to mix DNA, and this allows you to turn basic DNA into advanced DNA or vice versa. In order to take this action, you must first discard a card from your hand as part of the cost of the action. Then you can either turn 1 advanced DNA into 2 basic DNA, or 2 basic DNA into 1 advanced DNA. So for example, I could spend this red DNA and produce 2 blue DNA like so. Or by spending another, I could turn these 2 basic DNA of different types into an advanced DNA. Note that you cannot use a mix action to turn an advanced DNA into another advanced DNA. So if you do want to swap advanced DNAs or basic DNAs, you'll have to spend 2 cards to go back and forth in order to achieve that outcome. The final type of action you can take during the build phase is to sell DNA for money. And in order to do this, you simply sell 1 advanced DNA for 1 coin, or any 2 basic DNA also for 1 coin. And you may make as many sales as you wish during your turn. So, in summary, players carry out their build phases simultaneously, and there are 5 different actions they can perform. Creating dinosaurs for DNA, building attractions for money, improving security also for money, mixing DNA, requiring the discarding of cards, and selling DNA to gain money. After the build phase, proceed to phase 4, the visitors phase, and this takes place over 3 steps. Firstly, each player checks his or her current security level and compares it with the current threat level. However, when doing this, the player must add the number of dots on the die or card that was left over after the draft to his or her personal threat level. So right now the threat level for this player should be considered 5. In this case, the player has only 4 security. If the player's security meets or exceeds the player's adjusted threat level, then nothing happens. If the player's security is less than the adjusted threat level, then dinosaurs break free and eat visitors in the park. Determine how far short of your adjusted threat level your security level is. So in this case, it's 1 short. Multiply that number by 2 and then lose that many visitors on the main scoreboard. Like so. If at any point you would drop below 1, then you remain on the 1 space, but you take a lawsuit token, and this will be worth -5 points at the end of the game. Then, each player gains visitors equal to his or her excitement level. So yellow would get 3, and purple would get 1 in this scenario. Then, the player who is lower on the excitement track gets to take any one of the PR bonuses to the left of the current position of the PR marker. At the start of the game, you'll have a choice of only 2. After that player has taken the bonus, the player who is further ahead on the excitement track gets to choose 1 bonus from those to the left of the one that the other player chose. If the other player chose the one on the far left, then the player in front gets nothing. If there is a tie for excitement level, then the player who has constructed the fewest total cards in his or her park at that time chooses first, and if still tied, then whoever was the first player, that is the player who set up the dice and the cards for the draft, gets to choose first. Then proceed to the end of round phase. Players have a hand limit of 3 park cards, so if a player has more than 3, he or she must discard down. Then remove any dice and specialist cards from the draft board, putting dice back into the bag, but leave these cards and also leave the plot twist markers. Those will not change during the game. Move the PR marker 1 space forward on the PR track, and then give the first player bag to the other player, who will set up the draft for the next round. If you have not reached your pre-agreed endgame trigger, then proceed to income for the next round. If a player has reached the pre-agreed endgame trigger, then proceed immediately to endgame scoring. To determine your final score, start with the points you gained during the game. Then add the number of visitors printed in the box on all of your dinosaur cards, and any visitors printed in the bottom right corner of attractions. And remember, this will be 1 visitor for any attraction that cost you $5. Then, you'll score 4 additional visitors for each set of a ride, merch, and food icon that you've collected in your attractions. Or, put another way, total up your icons of each of the 3 types, find the one you have fewest of, and gain 4 points for each. If you have a specialist, which gives you an endgame victory point bonus, claim that now. And if you took a lawsuit during the game, lose 5 visitors for that. Whoever has the highest score wins, and in the event of a tie, whoever has the most dinosaurs wins. If still tied, victory is shared.
And that's how to play Duelosaur Island.
Now we've got our special guest, the games designer Ian Moss, to give us a few tips and strategies on how to play the game.
Hi, my name is Ian Moss. I'm the designer of Duelosaur Island. And it seems that you've come to Meeple University to learn some secret tips and instructions on how to better win against your other dinosaur theme park CEO opponents. Well, I have a secret. There's one secret. It always works. Build dinosaurs. No, really, one of the things that I always like to do is you can get a couple of your patrons eaten, and they usually turn out fine. Like if you let's say first couple rounds you build a big dinosaur, a Tyrannosaurus Rex or a Mega Rex, they add a lot of excitement to your park, and that generates you victory points every round. So the earlier you build those bigger dinosaurs, the more points they're going to get you. So in those first couple rounds, I tend to allow a couple of my patrons to get eaten without actually going into full get sued lawsuit mode. Another thing that is great that a lot of people sometimes forget is that attraction sets are worth 4 points at the end of the game. So when you're, towards the middle end of the game, you can finish off your sets of attractions to increase your bonuses and get you a little bit more engine building, and then B, it also helps you get extra visitors at the end of the game just for having a set of the 3 different types of attractions. So there's a couple of things you can do. There's obviously more. There's a lot of different ways to play Duelosaur Island, but hopefully those tips help, and hopefully they lead you to victory. If not, then you didn't hear it from me.
Thank you so much, Ian, for the tips.
Well, we hope you all enjoyed the video, and we hope you enjoy playing. And if you'd like to see the game in action, you can check out our 1-round playthrough for this game.
If you have any comments, ideas, feedback, or just want to say hi to us, please write in the comment section below. We love to hear from you.
And if you've liked what you've seen, you can consider subscribing to our channel by clicking on the Meeple in the corner.